Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are checking out Be My Guest, covered by Ouro Kronii. Now, I'm excited to get into this. This came out a couple days ago, and I'm excited to just jump right on in. I'm not too familiar with how Ouro Kronii sounds or like what her voice is like, at least when singing. So this is going to be my first big insight into that, and I'm excited to get into it. So let's hit play in 3, 2, 1, play. Ooh. Okay, already massive bass, like a massive bass tonality, both from the vocals and the instrumentation. We're going really heavy on the bass introduction here, and I like the tone of her voice that she's using to match that. Nice. Nice. Okay, she is going very nicely with that demeanor. It's like a little bit playful at times, but she's really using that like little bit, that inch of like vocal fry in there. I say vocal fry, but it's more of just that like when you go really deep and you get a little bit of strain in your voice, it might not be considered vocal fry right at that point, but it's just that a bit of demeanor and sassiness and a darkness in the tone of the voice. And I like the vocal layering here too. All right. All right, those like little whistle interjections are actually contributing so much to this mix, because we are so bass heavy right now. You're going all in on the bass tones. The vocals are low, the instrumentation is very low, and so those little lifts, and as well as the backing vocal as well. We also have a layered vocal track that's a little bit higher, and so that and those little whistle interjections are supplementing this treble tonality that keeps it entertaining and varied and invested. You know, it keeps the listener invested, because it doesn't feel stale when we have so much bass tonality consistently. We still have those treble little bumps that add variation and add interaction to the listener's ears. And so massive props to the composition for that. And I love how Kronii is singing with it. She is matching it perfectly. All right. Interesting. Okay, so we built up to this segment right here through a higher pitched percussive, digital percussive. So we're intensifying those treble tonalities that are being teased through that little whistle and the backing vocal, and then we're pulling that out and we're going all in on the bass, and then we're adding in that whistle interjection again. So you know, we're getting this little like hump and this lull, really, this lull of just bass and then this treble interjection and then bass, and then we build up with treble and then bass and then a treble interjection. And so I'm assuming we're going to build up again with the treble interjection after this part. But it's just that pattern that's very addicting, and it's a very interactive to a listener's ears to kind of flip-flop between these two opposite spectrums of tonality here. Ooh, and a nice breathiness here. Nice. Okay, so we're getting those playful demeanors from Kronii's voice here. I like how she kind of went up high, kind of constricting her throat, and then now she's kind of pushing it lower and getting a little more abdominal. I really like that. It's very intricate, because we're not super dynamic with the pitches that Kronii's covering, right? It's not like we have a crazy spectrum of range, but it's these little inflections and these changes in her vocal demeanor that really sell her voice. I mean, she is singing this like a voice actor. She's singing this theatrically. She's invested in the lyrics, and it feels so much more involved and entertaining when she does that. Nice. That was a good lift. All right. I like these little treble. So now we're a little more involved on those treble tonalities because we have that. Now we have, you know, the higher pitches matching the vocals here. And I feel like the vocals have gotten a little bit lighter, at least every now and then, especially through that breathiness. When you can hear her voice gets a little more breathy, she definitely has this lift to her voice, just naturally. And that sounds really, really pleasant to the ear. Nice. Okay. Oh, okay. We're building up with the percussive. Is that our closing? No, it's not. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we built up into suppression. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel for a little bit, you know my opinions on digital suppression on vocals, which are generally negative. But for this song, with how bass heavy it is and how, you know, synth centric the instrumentation has been, I don't think the suppression is that big of a negative here. I think it makes sense in terms of just composition. I do hope that we end our composition with a big climax. I'm not sure. We don't have a whole lot of time left in this cover here, so I'm questioning if that suppression is going to have a payoff. All right. No, okay. So we ended it on suppression. That is okay. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of that ending, but I think that was probably done because of the original composition, not because of like a choice of Kronii or the music team here. So in terms of the original composition, I do wish the suppression would have been, you know, followed by a big climatic segment, and then we could have closed on that. But still, I think in terms of a cover, I do think this was a very, very smart cover. This was a very, very smart cover because it's very vocal centric, and the instrumentation is very simple. You know, there's not a whole lot of complex instrumentation aside from, you know, maybe like you could argue maybe the percussives, but the percussives are pretty unobstructive of the vocals in any capacity, really. Everything in the mix, aside from maybe the bass pulses, really felt like they completely contributed to the vocals. They were really trying to make the vocals shine, make the vocals the forefront of the song. So I think this was a very smart cover to choose. I will say, I think I don't think the bass needed to be that like jacked up high. I think the bass could have been allowed to be a little lower because, you know, we already have these low pitches. We already have the bass tonality. So having the pulse on top of that be so strong, especially when we have our vocal suppression segment, having that bass pulse be so strong, that does feel obstructive of the vocals. However, as a whole, I think this cover was spectacular. I mean, Kronii showed off what she could do in a not crazy range. You know, the range itself wasn't ridiculous, but the demeanors and the little inflections we got from her, you know, the way she kind of got a little more breathy, she added this lift to her voice. She would kind of tease the vocal fry to make it a little more like almost like a sultry demeanor to her voice. It's a very, very fun to see her manipulate her voice in those different ways, and it's a very, very it's almost theatrical. You know, it's It's like she's playing all these different voices, all these different roles, and it's very, very fun to listen to. I will say it wasn't a super varied cover necessarily, because it was for the most part just kind of felt like a couple segments that were just kind of repeated. So there wasn't a whole lot of variation, but that isn't necessarily due to the cover. That's just the composition. And in terms of choosing a composition that focuses on the talent and puts the talent in the spotlight, I think this was an excellent choice as a song to cover. So massive props to Kronii and the music team, and any management that chose this song or helped her along the way. This was really solid. This was honestly really solid. And also, I feel like I don't really comment on the art or editing very much, but that was all amazing as well, of course. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you like this reaction and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Aside from that, I will see you all next time. Thank you so much.